Hey, welcome out to the Pressure Washing Pastor. My name is Joshua Brown. I will be your solo host today. My friends Brady and Josiah and Scott will not be on the show. My wife ended up getting sick this past week, and so we decided to say, you know what, I'm going to do a solo show. And I've actually invited a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, Andrew. And when you look at his website, and I want you to know that when you hear Andrew share his story, what he does, you're going to want to at least visit his website, because any home service business that's looking to get reoccurring business or try to prevent the unpredictability of generating revenue, I feel like this is an integrator relationship who can come right into your business and help you prevent the unpredictability. But we're going to learn a little bit more about that, and we'll get started as we let Andrew into the show. And so we're going to allow him to interview me. I'm going to interview him, and we're just going to have an open conversation of what we're doing and why we're trying to do it here in the marketplace. So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we were chatting before the show. Would you do us a favor and just give you know what? Have you ever been on like one of those dating shows?
Which which
That's
which kinds of dating shows?
you can take your wife on a date or something like that. I presume you're married and so
I
forth.
am.
But there's a game that you play with a deck of cards, and it's like a conversation. Don't go there with your thoughts.
Oh,
It's basically it's like a
yeah.
dating game.
The
Yeah.
yeah. I have that some like I think they call them like intimacy cards, or more specifically for like friend, building better, more close, intimate relationships, and it goes both romantic and no, those are great conversation starters. So
Yeah.
I assume that's what you mean, to start us off with one of those kinds
We're
of
not
cards.
we're not going to get too intimate, but in 60 seconds, can you share with our listeners your life story?
Wow, in 60 seconds. Okay. I was born at a very young age, and no, I'm kidding. Um yeah, in just a short amount of time, I would say I went I grew up I grew up in my dad was a pastor. Oldest of five kids. I grew up kind of moving around different ministries and places, which may come up later, and grew up most of my time in Pennsylvania. Ended up going to college, and I studied actually first piano performance. That's a fun road that we may not have time for, but I'm music background, very involved in that, and then switched to communication, and I really got interested in psychology and marketing and that sort of thing. And from there, after I graduated from college, I actually ended up working in recruiting for a while before venturing out on my own and starting a marketing agency or growth agency, doing just a variety of different growth strategies for different small businesses. Honestly, it was a group of my friends who were running businesses, and they ended up just being that way, and I was serving them and helping them grow their businesses. And we get more into all of that, but I found myself working with a lot of friends who had gone home and bought gutter cleaning businesses, or roofing businesses, and working in that sphere. And so I got just really experienced, and had a lot of experience with systems building and designing that, and ultimately trying to grow predictably and sustainably in that way. So that's kind of where I've been the last up till now. The last couple of years I've been dedicated. I don't know where we're at in the 60 seconds, probably over at this point, but in the scope of the last couple of years, what I've been working on is these two ventures primarily. Blue Renegade Agency and Service Ally are the two businesses that are kind of my full time, both full time things. Blue Renegade being more focused on helping grow and automate. I know that word is thrown around a lot, but automating or making more efficient and saving time with really just any business. And then on the other side, Service Ally is very focused on helping build recurring revenue for home service or service-based businesses, because I've experienced and found it's very difficult long term
So
or
good.
in the past to do. So I'll cut it off there. And is that kind of
No, yeah, you did well. I
great?
didn't hear too many lows inside of your story, and so it sounds
Oh,
like you had a perfect childhood, no problems growing up,
yeah,
like
yeah.
everything. Yeah, pretty much.
It was great. No problems, no struggles, no challenges. I mean,
Yeah.
it's as smooth sailing as it could have been. Um, Yeah, I
Hey,
mean, go
hey,
ahead.
we'll
Go ahead.
get. We'll pull out a struggle or two as we
I'm
go.
I'm I'm sure I obviously I'm kidding about that. There's been quite a few, but those aren't as it's interesting to me because those are never as attractive to talk about. No one really wants to talk about their struggles or their failures or where things didn't go well for them. But that's actually one of the most important things that
For
we can
sure.
share and talk about because it happens for all of us. It really does. So I think the most encouraging aspects of my learning journey and learning from others is when people have been vulnerable. So I hope that I will stay consistent in that as well and be vulnerable and open and share with you and share with everyone here listening
Yeah,
about
you
that.
are with
So
the pressure washing pastor, so we're gonna get into your story. But before we do that, there was a time that you didn't own your own business. How old were you, and how long ago was that when you worked for others versus working for yourself?
so it was about between graduating with my bachelor's. By the way, I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. So I went here locally to Bob Jones University. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Christian University here, and graduated from there. And for about I didn't make it a year as in the staffing world. So I mean I loved it. I loved what I did, but I ended up just jumping off on my own because I loved it so much. So that wasn't too long ago. I actually graduated in 2018. So
Awesome. So you're a
it's been
young man.
just a little bit, yeah. I turned 27 next month.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a second because we've got a phenomenal opportunity for you. If you've been thinking about opening your own pressure washing company, I'd like to invite you to a free webinar. There we'll talk about the pros and cons of opening a pressure washing, and you'll get to chat with our team about whether or not you should launch a pressure washing company in your city or not. To register for this free event, go to pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down to the little registration button, it's blue, and click on it, and we'll take care of the rest. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Now back to our show.
Well, so take me back then to the moment that you made a decision to start your own business. What was the main thought that was going through your head when you end up coming up with the idea of starting your own business?
Interestingly enough, I for some reason I always had this in the back of my head. I always felt there was a subconscious feeling that I would want to do this, and ultimately it wasn't really about any particular um, any particular kind of business. I just really enjoyed solving problems, right? And so if that were growing up, if that was landscaping, just making people's lawns look better, or or helping other people grow their businesses, it really I've always been kind of addicted to problem solving. Like that's just I just enjoy the next challenge. Um, I always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit. I think in growing up in high school, I actually wrote a lot of music, and so I was like, well, I'd like to. I enjoy writing film score. I enjoy writing music or piano compositions and solos. So I did all this research on how to share that and really monetize that, and I loved it. I love sharing that with the world, and so that kind of started this journey of trying to understand how can I provide value and give value to other people, and also I guess make a living from that. But I will also caveat that say it's good to put food on the table as well. But if I could just work and solve problems each and every day and just do that for the rest of my life, which I hope I will, that's enough. That's enough for me. So
You know what the working definition of a genius is?
I enlighten me. I'm not sure which definition you're referring to.
Someone who solves someone else's problems. And so at the end of the
Simple as
day,
that.
yeah, it's super simple, and I'm sure chat would maybe give us something a little bit more creamier with a little bit more salt and pepper. But for us, if you can solve somebody else's problem, you are looked at as being a genius. And so what I hear you saying to our audience is, yeah, I'm a genius. I basically solve people's problems. And we need geniuses inside of our businesses. So if you have a home service business, I know you're going to find today's episode interesting. And so I want to start with Service Alley business. Did I pronounce it properly?
Service ally, yes. Ally,
Ally.
ally is in a friend, yes.
Yep. And I'm dyslexic, so when I read, I don't read. I just
That's
memorize
okay.
and just pronounce words. But one thing I noticed is your business is a business that comes alongside of other businesses. Can you tell me the who that you try to help? And then let's dig into some of the problems that you solve inside of other people's businesses.
Yeah, I absolutely would love to. So on the service ally side, really what we're the primary people we're helping in that space is um, service based businesses. So home service. Speaking of the exterior cleaning, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, window cleaning, pest control, maid service. Really, we had a couple electricians and handyman. So really, anyone who is working on a home or serving the homeowner. That's really where we've been operating, really helping them grow their business. So I can get more specific in that. That's kind of who we're looking to help. Um, and the way we do that is we're helping launch some kind of model of recurring revenue or recurring services. Um, the biggest problem that we found as I was kind of helping in the early days of helping my friends, run their businesses, I found that it's always fun to get new customers, but the challenge is keeping them around and retaining them. And as much as you can send uh, emails and reminders and things, it is really challenging sometimes to retain that. Even with good services, it just happens. If you're pressure washing or soft washing once a year, most people don't remember who did theirs last year, and so they just call the first person. The other aspect of this, and I don't know if this is more, I'm giving more or less as you want, but
No,
the other
I like going wide and then we'll end up going, deep. And so,
indeed awesome. Well, the other long-term thing is as much as it is great, we're focusing on retention. Um, Actually, I was going to say this. Do you know the only three ways? I shared this at a conference I was speaking at last week. There's only three ways to grow a business. Do you know what those are? There's
no, would you mind telling me the 3 ways to grow your business?
only there's only three ways, and there's different frameworks of this, but there's really everything boils down to three. Number one is if you can get new customers, which is where most people focus on, right? That's marketing, that's sales, increasing the number of your customers. So increase number of customers, you can increase the transaction value, and you can increase the frequency of repurchase. So break that down real quick. That these are really the why, or the how we're helping. The second one, increase the transaction value. That's offering additional services or raising your prices or upselling. That's how you can grow from your existing customers. You can charge more or do more. And the third thing is really where we're focused most on, is increasing the frequency, because that seems to be the most difficult area of our service businesses. Is how can we make sure that people are coming more often and more frequently. So not only is it about, I think, predictability and taking some of the seasonality out of our businesses, I it's also, from a long-term perspective, um, sort of, I guess, legacy building, or uh, creating an exit plan, I guess, or just the long-term focus of, if you are running a mission-driven business, you, whether or not you want to be involved in it forever. I mean, you're not going to be. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but the goal ultimately is to build a business to have the optionality to sell. Whether or not you actually do or not is up to you. But having a predictable business that you can either pass on to your family, or you can pass on to someone else that you love and trust, or you pass it on to someone else who can pick it up, who's another buyer. You never know when you want to take that step and have
Right.
optionality. But starting earlier to create more predictability in the revenue is what helps you get the most amount of value out of that valuation. whether that's, next year or whether that's 20 years from now, starting this kind of, building some kind of recurring businesses is really where it's at. So we could get into that more,
That's
but
great.
that's really what's driving us. It's less about like how can we grow our businesses or how can we increase our revenue. It's more about I'm passionate about uh, giving all of us as operators or business owners um, leverage to be able to do what we feel called to in life.
Okay. So
So I'll stop there. I'm sorry. I
I've
kind
I've
of
got
got
I've got
preachy.
I'm interested. I'm in. And so here's a question that I want to know. If you come into my business, what is, would you rather hit a baseball or a softball for you?
Um, for
If you had to hit
for
a
me
ball, you get
personally,
to choose, yeah, you get to choose a soft. You got to hit one. Okay, you can either get a baseball or a softball, and let's say they're major league pitchers. Okay, so
I'll
you get
take a
a soft.
softball.
Why?
It's a little bit larger and it's not as easy to you know pull a fast one on, on me. I
Yeah,
think
you're
that's
more likely to crush a softball
yeah.
than you are a fastball. I've got a softball question for you. Okay,
Okay.
if you come into my business, what is the no brainer value proposition that you're going to see and offer to help me gain reoccurring business? Because for sure, leads cost us anywhere from $60 to $80, from cost per click. And if we can figure out a way to get our services more often, we now don't have to pay for that $60, $80, and it's reoccurring income. So
Yeah.
if you
Or
can,
oh, sorry, I was I don't mean to
no,
cut
you're
you off.
good.
Or you know that you can pay more. You can pay more because they're going to stick around. So you can pay $100 or $150 per customer acquisition because they're going to stick around for 5 or 10 years. So you
Okay.
can so I know I flipped that a little bit. Definitely, you don't want to have to continue having expenses out, but when you can predictably close that recurring customer, that I like to call them that lifetime customer, right? We want to convert one time into lifetime.
All right. Tell me the softball value proposition for every single person that's listening right now. They need this service in their business or what you do specifically.
Absolutely. So the way we run this is we have a done for you / with you, done with you approach, and a software that helps run everything and automate everything on the back end. So we run through a 8 to 10 week process, generally speaking, and we um, survey your customers. And I can dig more into that if you like, but we really want to understand what is your specific customer
Hmm.
base looking for. What do they want? Um, Most of the time, they haven't thought about stuff like this. They're like, "Oh, I would love to get my gutters cleaned or windows cleaned on a regular basis, or I'd like to I'd like this peace of mind." So that process really helps um, prime their minds to thinking about this, and then the rest of the process is really designing out the perfect and personalized, whether it be a discount membership program where you're offering discounts um, for how frequently they're getting that, or it's a subscription revenue where people are paying monthly or quarterly for their services. Whatever works for your customer, that's what we're trying to design and build. And once we've kind of designed that out, we want to make sure that this is going to go on and sell predictably ongoing. So whether it's marketing materials or emails that we design, and my wife is my business partner in this, and she is a graphic designer. She has her own design business outside of this, so she makes everything. She makes me look a lot better. I'm definitely she's the better half in this,
We should
but
have had her.
I truly.
Uh,
Yeah, you have to look at my ugly mug here instead of hers. But she's a designer, and so we work together to make direct mail, email, really just the whole marketing package of how are you presenting this and how are you displaying it to your customers. Because at the end of it, I could talk more about all the different things and that we build into predictably uh, close. Our goal is a certain percentage, at least minimum of 20 to 30% minimum of your customers that are one time we want to convert into lifetime. It doesn't really matter, how we do it or how that looks. Ultimately, whatever recurring program you build has to be simple and easy for a customer to understand and enroll and basically opt in and tell you, I want this. And it needs to be simple for your team and you to operate it and not have to think about it. And those have been the two, I think, pain points that up to this point have been a real struggle for I would say us you maybe I don't know personally if you've had these kinds of struggles, but those are two troubles and pain points that we found that we're really trying to patch up and serve.
So what I hear you saying is you'll actually come into our business, you'll survey our customers, and then you'll create a 8 to 10 plus week nurturing campaign or some type of integration to help turn our current customers into repeat customers. On average, do you have your stats on what kind of percentage rate that you normally have?
Percentage of how many are converting?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you step into my company and I have 10,000 customers, or let's say I have 1,000 customers per year, you can come inside of it and say, "Hey, your market, your services might have an issue, but man, just shoot it at me straight." You're gonna be able to find how many out of 1,000 that end up being reoccurring.
I think I hate to say it depends on your market, but it really can vary based on what your ideal customer or what your current customer base is. And I know that sounds like such a cop out question, but it really is. It
Give
also
me a
depends
case
on
study. Give me a
yeah,
case study, man. You're not getting off.
maybe
All right.
okay.
When I first started my own pressure washing business, I did not know what soft washing was, nor did I know marketing, sales, or even how to manage my finances.
Take the guesswork out of it. We have taken all of the knowledge we've gotten and wrapped it into video courses. It's a 7-figure blueprint for a pressure washing company that you can get at pressurewashingpastor.com. Go there, scroll down to video courses, and purchase it. We guarantee you'll get the value or your money back.
So go ahead and click pause, head over to the website. Now, unclick pause and back to your show.
When we implemented this, there's been a couple in Colorado, California, and that we've launched, and within the first couple weeks, we're predictably converting 30% of their one-time jobs into recurring service. So I think that this is the one when I first started this, or one of our first case studies. She had about 17,000 on the calendar for the next year because she had launched a membership or maintenance program for that, and there was only 17,000, but it was very manual. It was very difficult. So we came in, and by the end of the year, I think we had about 150 to 200,000, somewhere in that range. I forget the exact, how quickly that happened, but within a year, that was how much recurring revenue we knew was on the calendar for the following year. And going into this next year, if we continue predictably closing at the rate that we are, she's going to be at $500,000 in recurring revenue, which is astounding, because when you look at that based on what overall, gross revenue is, it's creating a substantial baseline. I mean, in their case, I think it's getting to almost over half, getting up to half of overall revenue, which is just incredible, because now
What services did you say she had?
Exterior cleaning, window glider cleaning, pressure washing, and solar panel cleaning. So exterior cleaning in general. They're in Northern California, so sometimes water is a problem. So they can't always do the washing, but those services. So that's a major win.
Is that Megan's?
It is Megan's, yes.
Yeah. We've
I,
got
yeah, I disconnected. When I was we were talking together, made that disconnect. But your audience, I'm sure, knows Megan. Megan likes, and Jeff likes clean windows and gutters.
Who doesn't know?
I know. How can you not know Megan? She's incredible.
She might be one of the smartest people I've ever been in a room with, honestly. Just
she's
just
amazing.
And we're having her on the show in a few weeks, and so we're excited. And then we're also beta testing some of her. She's doing some window cleaning video courses that we're interested in checking out.
Jeff Flex, yeah, Streak Free Academy. Yeah,
You got it. And so,
that's right. They're great. Yeah,
all
we
right,
last year we went out to visit them and talk with them. They were their first case study of this to figure out all of the details of how do you actually launch something like this. So it was a wonderful process working, building this with them. So
now
it's
is
been
this
fun.
do you have a set fee? How's your
I do.
pricing?
Yes. Yeah, I do. There's a total program, but generally what I tend to there's a couple options as to what the overarching what direction we go with. Generally speaking, with every single new person I talk to, I want to run at least the survey as an initial, like, hey, let's figure out if this is the right thing, because I want to make sure it's right for your customer base, and that we know what we're getting into when we work with you to design it. So we survey first, and we do that for about 950, or about for 950, and that counts as basically a credit to the rest of the program. um, I also say this: we have never run the survey. Actually ends up not only gaining some feedback and data on what your customers want, and even some open feedback on what they're generally what they're looking for, not just recurring. We also end up generating revenue because we take that customer engagement point and we ask them, when would you like us to come out next, and re-engage. So we every single time we've run the survey, we end up making back a large portion of revenue, like more than we actually take as an investment. So I think maximum we've made back from this is over 80,000 just by running the survey.
Yeah, and so here's a conversation. Is we're looking at launching window cleaning. We've never done it. We did $1.8 million of pressure washing, roof cleaning, and a little bit of Christmas lights last year. And we've been toying around with this idea of starting window cleaning. It would almost make sense that I end up hiring you and have you be the touch point and the launch point of the window cleaning. And I would be shocked if we didn't, generate your fee for sure.
Mhm.
And let me ask you this though, like there's a little bit of anxiousness having you step into the business. I'm getting nervous. My hands are starting to sweat, as you can tell. And
Uh,
are the customers going to be frustrated that you're reaching out? Or is there some super sexy slides that your wife has created that just,
That's a great question. And thank you for clarifying that. We don't do it on our own. We don't do it as us. We do it as you. So we actually get into your email marketing tool, your system. We help you survey them. And I say we help, but we actually do it for you. Uh, in that case, we clean up your customer list. We help you analyze the data after we've done it. So none of this is from us, because we want to plug this in and have it as you. Um, because it's you, it's your customer base. It's they trust you to do this. I think that how we've settled on the way we do things right now is we want to take over this headache for you, because there's, generally speaking, there's so many other things that you as the CEO of this, you should be focused on. So if we can, really the only thing that we try to involve you with is just overall strategy and vision of like where we're trying to get to. And I guess more importantly, your customers, them better than we ever will. So we want to dig into that and figure out, hey, what are your customers like? What does it look like, and how can we mutually serve them together? So there's some anxiety of that. I treat all customers as my own. I'm very focused on making the best possible experience. We even have processes in place where customers, when they're clicking through and interacting with your business at every part of the journey, they don't ever have to input their own details. I want to have I say this all the time, the Amazon one-click buy experience, right? So like I want things to be as seamless and painless as possible for customers, because the more time that you can save for your customers, the more they're going to love you and stick around with you.
well, Andrew, you made $1,000 on this show because I'm going to be a client. And
Okay.
then we're going to come back and we're going to do a part 2 on the show. And then we're going to share our story, our success with you. And we'll give it about
Wonderful.
6 months to take a look at it. And all right, so I'm there with that business. I'm sold. We're going to try you out. Now, the next question is this: you've got a business called Blue Renegade
Mhm.
Agency. Can you tell me a little bit about that business?
Absolutely. So, really, Service Ally actually came out of Blue Renegade Agency, and a lot of the products that we work on. Honestly, it's mostly just out of just all the problem. It's basically my ability to just focus on any one project or problem and just be able to dig into that and solve it. So, uh, I it, w- I'll say this anecdote. My At this conference I was at, someone asked one of my mutual clients, um, what does Andrew do? And he's like, I don't really know. He just comes in and makes things work. And I was like, that's actually a really that's a great way of putting it, because I don't even really know what I do. I just kind of make things work and automate it. So that being said, there's some specific things that we do. What One of the major things that I've been focused on is, you have all these softwares, you have all these systems around. You have a CRM for this, you have an email marketing tool. And I don't know personally what you guys use in your business, but you have all this technology across different places. You have marketing, you're running Google Ads and everything. Um, what I come in and do is say, how can we consolidate and make the best possible experience, not only for the customer, but also your team? So when the customer, whatever the customer journey is, whether they're, getting quotes automatically themselves via software that you have, whether it's, they're getting reminders and emails or notification emails internally, whatever that is, it needs to be a seamless and beautiful process. So that's where it kind of comes back to, we haven't talked too much about this, but I there's so much technology out there that allows us to, optimize or, make our lives better. But I think so often we're not sure how to do it or what we need to do. And that's where I like coming in. And if all of what I just said was like just Greek to you, I'm sorry. Basically, what I'm coming in and saying, I'm sitting down with you and saying, what do you want to do? What is taking a lot of your time right now? Uh, and where do you want to go? And I lay out the plan for how to get there.
Okay.
That's
And
that's
so
kind of pretty much it.
no, what I hear you say is, you've taken, are you familiar with EOS? I'm sure you are.
Mhm.
And you're basically coming alongside of visionarians who want to run like with vision. And then you're coming on the backside and being the integrator role. And
That's
so
right. I do.
super valuable.
I've taken the EOS test a bunch of times, and it is always inconclusive for me. It's saying you're either both or neither, and so I'm like, well, that's great. So I have the benefit of I love talking about vision. I love talking about how, what you ultimately want to do, right? I mean, you're doing all these things, this podcast, the show, this, this community that you're building, and I love that. I'm like, awesome, let's focus on that and let's see how we can get you, fire you from the rest of your the stuff that you're doing, so we can let you do more of the things that you want to do.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. But head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
Yeah, I want you to jump into our business for sure. We're about 35 minutes in. I've got one final question that I'm going to ask you, and then you've got like a 5-minute. You ask me anything you want to ask. So jump in
I
my
think we'll
business.
have to do a part two, because I don't 5 minutes isn't enough, isn't enough for you. That won't do us justice for all that I want to talk about with you. So,
Yeah,
but
maybe we should do that. Maybe we should
yeah,
put on the show like our conversation that we end up having as far as you digging into my business so people can see exactly what you do.
sure,
That could be a
absolutely.
fun part 2 conversation. So are you open? I've got a question that could be offensive, but it's like it's a question that I met a young man shared his testimony with me this past week. He's from Raleigh, came to one of our boot camps to learn how to open up his own pressure washing company. And I said, "Hey, will you mind telling me your story?" And he said, "Man, I grew up in church, went to maybe 4 or 5 different youth groups, and I just never heard the gospel." And he said it wasn't until he named Methodist, he named a bunch of different churches. He said, "I never heard it until I went to college. I was in a desperate situation. I basically prayed out, God, if you're real, I need you to tell me." And the opening day of college, this guy knocked on the door, ended up being not a campus pastor, but like one of those campus crusades, or crew is what they may call. And they shared the gospel with him. And he said, until then, I never heard anyone share the gospel. This is the pressure washing pastor. I have a faith, faith driven, like the reason we do this. And when he said that, I said, you know what, for now on, I'm going to ask every person that comes to my show, what is the gospel? And then that way I can end up letting anybody to hear it. Now, it's not like what somebody else's answer is. It's not what you heard at Bob Jones. It's Andrew, for you, what is the gospel?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the good news. The gospel, as I would see it defined from my experience, my perspective, is the good news of John 3:16. For uh, almost I've said almost everyone knows that, but I found that there's actually a lot of people that don't. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Um, that I think is the story, the beautiful story of how the creator of the universe, the creator of the world, and the creator of our heavenly Father has loved us so much, and yet we have the first thing that came to mind was spit in his face. I was trying to find a better, more eloquent way of saying that, but we've rejected that. We've rejected that love, and so because he loves us, lays out a new plan, a plan for us to actually be able to have a relationship with him. And so recognizing that and realizing that, you acknowledge that, and you to borrow, there's a lot of what I've coined as like Christianese, that growing up, there's a lot of Christianese that I feel like we throw around, and we don't really know what it means. So I say that because sometimes these words come up, and I don't like using that terminology, because it's almost meaningless. But the better words, like, we're children of God now, and we're here on this earth for a reason. We're here as I would say, we have faith-based businesses or mission-driven businesses, because we want to glorify him in all that we do, and point people to him. So that's I don't know if that would answer the way your question.
I'm not looking for an answer.
Yeah.
Like, it is not me diving into you. It is like, I had to process that exact same question. If I'm on the show and someone ends up saying, what is the gospel? I'm not going to use Roman roads. I'm not going for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. I'm there, but I'm basically sharing, for me, God chose to love something like me, and I'm blown away. I am done.
I like I was asked a couple of years ago this question of, like, how do you experience, what's your spiritual, what's your walk? We always get that, or I guess we should ask that question more. But it's like, how's your walk? What's your spiritual experience? I like the question, like, how do you personally experience God, or how do you what is your personal experience? Because I think that's a major problem. I would also say this could open up a whole nother can of worms that we probably don't have time to talk about today. But I think that a major, again, I was a pastor's kid. I was a PK. I knew all the stuff. I I was, deeply into it. I even wanted to kind of either go and be a pastor myself, or hit the mission field. I felt very called to ministry, and that's a whole nother journey that we could talk about later. But I feel I'm still on that path, even in what I'm doing now. But I think that there's so much that gets sort of doesn't get talked about much, or we were talking about that vulnerability, or opening up, or having these candid conversations. I know that in my early 20s, which I guess wasn't that long ago, but my early 20s, it was a real challenge and a struggle as I went into the world, I guess, or I started experiencing what life is like. And I would also say that the world got a little bit more complicated around the last 10 years. It feels that way, at least. Maybe you'd have some additional perspective. But I think that what I felt like I lacked quite a bit growing up, even among the ministry, is a lot of people being more vulnerable about who they are, what they're struggling with, their testimony, and everything. And feeling like we have to know. You mentioned like Romans Road, or like apologetics. I mean, I knew all the stuff, but when the rubber hit the road, I was like, these things don't, these kitschy, or these quick Bible verses don't seem to answer this problem. Like the head. Well, yeah, on a surface level, it felt surface level to me, and so I really had to go through a journey of discovery and trying to figure out what do I actually believe? What is it that we want? So anyway, that's a whole nother. We're getting really deep, and we're coming to the end of our time. But I think my experience, and what I encourage you, if you do have a really major faith-based, you and I guess everyone else listening to that.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to save and archive this episode, and I'm going to play it back to back with our follow-up. And
Great.
So the next video that we'll show will end up being the results, along with us jumping back into this conversation. But if I wanted to get in touch with you, we need to wrap it up in the next 30 seconds. If I need to get in touch with you, how would I find out more about you and get in touch with you?
Well, I'm getting more active on Facebook here. I know where you're primarily here, but serviceally.io if you're interested in going down that road, or bluerenegade.agency, either one of those. I'll give you something to put in the show notes, so that if someone has a specific question, they can either shoot me a text or something. So I'd be happy to do that. So if you're listening to this right now, it's down in the show notes, I guess, if that would be acceptable to you.
Yeah, that's acceptable. I'll do everything I can because we're also giving live results. I'm gonna say until next time, we'll see you there. Peace.